The sled dog always loops the rope around its arm when rescuing people, because only this way can it quickly save the trapped person. Although every second on the ice is extremely dangerous, it believes its master can pull it back at any moment. It cautiously belly crawls for the final meter, then quickly spreads open the rope using its limbs in coordination, successfully looping it around Dr. McLaren. After calming him down, the sled dog Maya returned to the shore. Her owner, Shepard, had no time for much praise and swiftly secured the rope to the sled team. He then shouted to the dogs, commanding them to pull together. Finally, through the desperate pull of one man and 8 dogs, McLaren was rescued from the ice hole, but Shepard was nearly exhausted now. Worse, a blizzard was approaching. He could only force himself to stay alert, equipping McLaren with gear and securing him to the sled. After this, the storm grew so fierce he couldn't open his eyes. Shepard placed the lead dog Maya in the front position, placing all his hopes on her. Maya seemed to understand her master's meaning. She shook herself, ready to spring. At Shepard's command, Maya charged ahead, leading the team towards camp, but the blizzard was truly overwhelming. Shepard still couldn't hold on and passed out. Seeing this, Maya ran even harder. In this moment, the 8 dogs seemed to be racing against death. Fortunately, they succeeded. The sled team reached the camp before dark. Teammates helped the 2 men into the room while the dogs waited anxiously outside. However, their condition wasn't good. Shepard's fingers were frostbitten, showing signs of rotting. McLaren was completely unconscious and needed transfer to a city hospital for treatment, but the plane had limited space, forcing them to leave the dogs behind. Shepard intended to take the next flight with the dogs, but his fingers couldn't wait any longer. His ex-girlfriend Katie repeatedly promised to return for the dogs. Reluctantly, Shepard agreed. Realizing the humans weren't taking them, the dog Max broke free from his chain and came to his master, wanting to leave together. Unexpectedly, he was muzzled again the next second. To prevent further escapes, they tightened the restraints on each dog. Finally, Shepard went to Maya, comforting them that he would return for them soon. Amidst reluctance, Shepard boarded the plane, unaware that his return would be half a year later. Watching the plane fade away, the dogs grew restless and anxious. They didn't know what they had done wrong for their master to leave them behind alone. Shepard's heart was heavy too. If not forced by circumstance, how could he abandon partners who faced life and death with him? He pulled up his hood and fell into a deep sleep. When Shepard woke up again, it was already 3 days later. He immediately asked about the dogs. Seeing Charlie hesitate, flustered and at a loss, he sensed something was wrong. He confronted Katie, only to be told the flight team had canceled the Antarctic mission. The earliest return wouldn't be until spring next year. Unwilling to believe it, Shepard stormed into the command center. When learning 8 dogs were still stranded, the commander just looked dismissive. In 2 days, Antarctica would face a storm unseen in 25 years. No pilot would be foolish enough to risk their life for 8 dogs.
There's nothing I can do. I'm sorry.
Shepard stood frozen, instantly at a loss. He couldn't imagine how the dogs would survive the bitter winter in that frozen place. The storm arrived as predicted. This was day 4 of the dogs' independent survival. They obediently curled up in place, waiting for their master's return. But days passed with no sign of their master. They were desperately hungry. Then Max suddenly spotted a tern landing on a cable, its wings frozen stiff, unable to fly. Max excitedly woke his companions. Then he leaped with all his might, violently breaking free of his rope and charged towards the tern. The teammates, also starving, all broke free at once and rushed towards the tern. But the leader Maya lingered, refusing to leave because she needed to care for the elderly old Jack. Maya tried to untie old Jack's rope, but old Jack wouldn't cooperate. For his remaining time, he wished to stay quietly here, not wanting to be a burden to the team anymore. Maya licked old Jack's fur repeatedly, giving her final farewell, then silently departed. On day 15 of independent survival, 1 dog passed away. The dogs in their prime hadn't given up. Pursuing the birds, they reached a hillside and unexpectedly discovered a flock of terns. This thrilled Max, who was leading. Luckily, the terns hadn't flown far. Maya, arriving then, immediately assigned tasks. She had all dogs stealthily move to ambush positions opposite, leaving only the young Max behind to reflect and learn by watching carefully. After Maya left, Max lay on the ground, clearly displeased. Seeing their companions positioned opposite, Maya carefully belly-crawled forward. Reaching hunting range, she gave the signal. Instantly, the dogs surged forward in a pincer movement towards the terns. Maya, being the closest, charged headfirst, successfully driving the turns in the opposite direction. Then the ambushing companions appeared just in time, catching several turns before they could fly away. Max, who witnessed the whole hunt, was excitedly watching. Though the dogs were starving, after securing the food, they did not eat it. Instead, they placed it before Maya, waiting for her to distribute it. Watching everyone else get a share except himself, Max felt utterly bewildered in the freezing wind. So he began eyeing the portions of others. Over the next 50 days, they searched for food by day and huddled together for warmth at night. They witnessed the aurora, but their master never arrived. All the dogs were mesmerized by this sight. As the aurora gradually faded, the playful Max and a few others chased after it, with Maya calling out cautions from behind. But the dogs were entirely captivated by the dazzling colors, completely unaware of the danger beneath their feet. Unexpectedly, the next moment, hearing a sharp cry, Maya knew something was wrong. They quickly ran down from the hill to find Dewey with a broken leg, lying weakly on the ground. In this frozen wilderness, without human help, Dewey could only await death. The dogs lay over him, trying to keep him warm, hoping he would make it through the night. But the blizzard was merciless. Their bodies were soon buried. When the dogs woke the next morning, Dewey had closed his eyes forever. His brother approached, trying to wake him. But Dewey's body had already frozen stiff in the cold, and the soft snow only deepened as they tried to dig. Maya was the first to leave, her steps heavy, because she had responsibility for the living brothers. One by one, the other dogs departed too. Finally, even Dewey's brother left. But Max stood there dazed, only daring to approach after all his companions had gone. He believed his playful actions the previous day had caused Dewey's death, so he lingered, nestling beside Dewey, refusing to leave. When all the dogs had gathered together, Maya realized Max hadn't followed. The gale grew fiercer and fiercer. Max finally rose to leave. Yet in the raging storm, his companion's trail had vanished. Only then did Max realize he was lost. Shepard never forgot his promise. Over these months, he petitioned the authorities countless times, only to be dismissed with various excuses. So he sought McLaren's help, but McLaren said that after so many months, the dogs couldn't possibly still be alive, urging Shepard to forget about it all.
Forget. And you can do that.
Shepard knew deep down the dogs were likely gone. Yet whenever he tried to force himself to forget, images of them would appear in every corner. This was day 133 since the dogs were left behind in Antarctica. Luck was good today. They found a supply station. They ate their fill inside, enjoying this rare comfort. But the leader Maya gazed out the door, worried about Max's safety. Max was not faring well. He had returned to the base only to find his companions had already left. After waiting fruitlessly for days, Max began a life of wandering in Antarctica. This day, he discovered, to his surprise, the carcass of a whale on the ice. Starving for days, Max didn't hesitate, ready to bite in. But he found the surface meat had been picked clean. He explored further, searching for scraps. Unexpectedly, the next moment, a sea lion suddenly burst from inside the whale's belly, baring its teeth menacingly to drive Max away. This terrified him. He ran several hundred meters before daring to stop. Yet, looking at the only food he'd found in days, Max refused to accept defeat. Then he heard a dog's bark from the hilltop. Looking up, he saw his brothers had returned. With his team backing him, Max was no longer afraid. He glanced upwards, received a signal from Maya, and charged straight at the sea lion. Then, under his companion's watchful eyes, Max ignored the danger, tearing a chunk of meat right in front of the sea lion. This was a clear challenge. Seeing Max try to leave, the sea lion dove into the water and swiftly gave chase. This played right into their plan. Maya and the dogs began devouring large chunks of the whale meat ravenously. The sea lion chased for a moment, then suddenly turned and sped back towards the carcass. Its speed was too great. By the time Max realized it was too late, the sea lion sank its teeth hard into Maya's hind leg. The other dogs, seeing this, jumped to higher ground in fright. Only Max braved the danger, running straight over. He leaped onto the sea lion's back and bit down fiercely in retaliation. The other dogs reacted then, attacking from all sides, biting and tearing at the sea lion. Under their assault, the sea lion could only plunge into the water and flee. The The dogs wagged their tails, celebrating the victory. But leader Maya couldn't stand. Her hind leg was crippled. What should have been a celebratory feast was instead filled with sadness that permeated every dog. To spare her teammates' grief, Maya bit back the pain and forced herself to stand. Under the gaze of the 2 rows of dogs, Maya limped over to the whale carcass. Seeing this, the dogs then approached and began eating the long-desired fish meat heartily. This was the fullest they had eaten in 5 months. Just as they were nearing the base, Maya could hold on no longer and collapsed painfully onto the ground. Her companions stayed with her at the spot, never leaving her side no matter the wind or rain. From then on, Max took up the mantle. But any food he found would still be placed before Maya, and he would step back, waiting for her to redistribute it. Yet Maya limped over and returned the food, then went back to her spot, leaving Max utterly bewildered. The pride of the lead dog made her unwilling to be a burden to the team. She wanted to leave the hope of survival to the others. Seeing this, the companions followed suit, placing their food before Max and standing in a row, waiting for him to redistribute it. Over these past months, Max's progress was clear for all to see, so everyone willingly followed his arrangement. Max placed the food before Maya once more. They would survive together. Meanwhile, McLaren was delivering a speech at an award ceremony for finding the first Mercury meteorite in Antarctica. He thanked his family, his team, and the foundation that supported him, but he did not thank the sled team that had saved his life. Listening to the applause around him, Shepard found it bitterly ironic. He was there to say goodbye. He could never let go of those 8 dogs. Whether they were alive or dead now, he had to go back and see. McLaren could only wish him a safe journey, then returned to the hollow flattery of the crowd. Back home, McLaren discovered a drawing on his son's bedside table. In people's eyes, the father was their hero, but his son's heroes were the 8 sled dogs who saved his father. McLaren realized his once kind and brave heart seemed blinded by worldly fame. Shepard's plan to return to Antarctica wasn't going smoothly. It was deep winter, and no fisherman at the dock was willing to lend him a boat. Just then, the server brought over a beer, saying it was sent by a lady at the bar. Shepard turned to look. It was Katie. Even more coincidentally, his old partner Charlie was also there. As it turned out, this was all arranged by McLaren. Last night, his conscience stirred, and he decided to find those 8 true heroes. With McLaren's help, they rented an icebreaker, smashing through the ice to reach the research station closest to Antarctica. They then drove snowmobiles, finally arriving at the location on the 175th day since the dogs were stranded. But no dogs came out to greet them when they got out of the vehicle. Everyone's mood sank instantly. Shepard looked at the chains completely buried in snow and fell silent. He felt towards the first chain. Unfortunately, the first one belonged to the deceased old Jack. Shepard pulled hard, but the chain didn't budge. He knew what he would see next, but still forced himself to brush away the snow. A dog's ear came into view. Seeing the body on the ground, Shepard hated himself for not staying with them. After a long while, he steeled himself and felt further down, only to discover, to his surprise, that the second chain was broken. This meant that dog might still be alive. Shepard saw hope instantly. Then,
He got off. They got loose!
suddenly, several barks came from over the hillside. The dogs, hearing the noise, had come here. No one could believe they were still alive. In this moment, the dogs showed no resentment, even though humans had once abandoned them. Yet upon reuniting, they still rushed towards the humans without hesitation.
Max, what have you been doing? Hey! Boy, Max.
Seeing the familiar faces in the team, Shepard was overjoyed. It would be even better if Maya and Dewey were still here. So he looked towards the hillside, hoping fate would grant him one more surprise, but he waited a long time and saw nothing. Shepard realized he was being greedy. Having 5 of them still alive was already a blessing. Just as the team prepared to leave, Max refused to go. Ignoring Shepard's attempts to stop him, he dashed straight towards the hillside. Shepard had no choice but to follow. It turned out Maya's body had been left here. He approached Maya, looking at her frozen body, tears of remorse welling in his eyes.
I'm sorry, girl.
It was as if Maya heard her master's voice. Her eyes suddenly twitched. Shepard reached out to touch her and discovered, with immense joy, that Maya was still alive.
How's my best girl doing, huh? Let's get you home, okay? Let's get you home.
This is a true story, inspired by the real events of the 1957 Japanese Antarctic research expedition. But reality was far more brutal than this film depicts. Out of the 15 dogs stranded, only 8 managed to break free from their chains, and in the end, only 2 survived.